guys, Ellen Woodbridge here, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and I would like to welcome you to the May Christmas Stampathon or 2020 Christmas Stampathon. Now this is a challenge on Facebook that we make Christmas projects all the way from January through to October, November to get us ready for Christmas. Now this month's challenge is to make a fancy fold card. Now whilst I've done a fancy fold, I've gone back to something really simple because I haven't made them in a while, and it's an easel card. So basically it is a normal card with an extra panel, and you just add a stopper to the base and it sits up like an easel, and I'm going to show you how to make that today. And what I have used is the Peaceful Boughs stamp set, Beautiful Boughs dies, the Everyday Label Punch, Timeless Punch, the double stitched satin ribbon and red rhinestones, and I am showing you one of our new in colours, and if you're watching this before the 3rd of June, it is coming in about 7 days time, and it is Just Jade. So that is this beautiful green. I couldn't resist but to pair it with Coastal Cabana and Real Red for my card this month. So I am going to get straight into it now and show you how I put this card together. So just let me move a few of these things to the side. I have partially pre-prepared this project so I can easily show you. So the pieces that we will need is half a sheet of your standard cardstock, and then we will need a quarter sheet of your standard cardstock for the easel part. I have added a mat inside that's about half a centimetre smaller or a quarter of an inch if you work in inches, and then a full centimetre smaller than the card front. And then I have a piece for my sentiment, so Whisper White for my sentiment pieces, and I already have my Everyday Label piece pre-punched, ready to go. So I'm going to get straight into the stamping, and we are stamping on the card base. I'll just pop this here in the corner. We're stamping on the card base and the Whisper White piece. So because I don't have the Just Jade ink just yet, we are using Coastal Cabana and Versamark. So I'm going to start, I think because my stamps are already dirty, I am going to start with the Coastal Cabana because I have already made 3. So part of our challenge is that we make multiples of our cards. So I have already made 3 because this challenge will be to make at least 4. So I am starting off, and I'm just going to move a few things here just so I can pull in the stamp set. I have used this largest bow from Peaceful Boughs, inking it up here, and I'm just bringing it in from the corner just to avoid the edge of the stem, and I'm actually going to stamp it off and then stamp it down just so it's not full strength. And then we are also going to use the tin tile embossing folder to add some beautiful texture. Now this card is a little involved making the wreath, but I certainly think it's worth it. So I'm going to the middle size bow now, and I am stamping this off twice, and then I am hugging it around just like this. So you've got that gradient look, so you'll be having the full strength Coastal Cabana in the cardstock, and then you will have second generation in our largest. Oh, I don't even think, did I stamp that? It doesn't matter. In the whole scheme of things, it doesn't really matter that I didn't stamp that off, because it is just a background piece. So that is our background stamped. Now I'm going to bring in the sentiment, and I'm just using Season's Greetings and just stamping that roughly in the middle. It doesn't have to be straight because we are punching it out. So I'm bringing in this smaller bow again and just inking up the top portion, because I am going to stamp off and just add, as you can see from here, just add some interest with this, just in the corners. So I will be punching most of that out, but you will see some of it, and it will add some interest to the sentiment. So now what I am going to do is just close this ink pad up. Now I do use a bone folder just to get that moving. Oh, do you know what I forgot to stamp? While we're going, I will renege, and I will very quickly clean off my bow stamps. Now I have already stamped this with Stampin' Mist, so give it a scrub, give it a dry. Once again, give it a scrub, give it a dry. That is all beautiful and clean to use Versamark on our Just Jade card base. So I've turned my card base over so the valley, the mountain rather, is on the inside. So that's where I'm going to fold it after I have stamped it. So and I'm going to stamp in exactly the same pattern as what I did on the inside. I'm just not going to stamp off, and this is going to leave a beautiful watercolor effect, so it does get darker as it dries. And yep, I have to keep on checking. It looks like I haven't even stamped it. So I've done one corner, then I'm going to turn my card around because that's easiest for me, and just go in from my scored corner at the top. Well, it is technically in the middle, but it will be at the top when we stamp, or when we fold the card rather. So you can see as that's drying that you've just got that nice subtle texture and stamping of the boughs. So that really is all the stamping we're going to do. Did tell a bit of a furphy before, but I redeemed myself. So I'm going to pop that piece aside. I don't need my scrap paper, and I am just going to bring in my die cut machine, and I'm using the tin tile embossing folder, which is one of my absolute favorites. So if you want an embossed design like I have on here, make sure you have the Stampin' Up logo on the front where the stamping is. If you want a debossed design, which I might do just for the sake of showing you, put your stamped image face side down. So I just, because it's a bit of a geometrical, or geometric rather, pattern, I do like to try and line it up as best I can, and that's fairly good. Now I always put my embossing folders spine side in, so then it doesn't put any pressure on the spine if you put it in the open end. So that should now be perfectly debossed, and I will show you the difference because both sides are beautiful. So you can see the embossed and the debossed. And now I'm going to start my layering of this front panel. And it really is, there is no actual dimension used in this front panel. I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue so I get a good amount of, oh pardon me, if I get a good amount of slip, and I can make sure it's looking as perfect. And this Just Jade looks so beautiful with the Coastal Cabana. I just love it. I can't wait to have all the inks when the new catalogue goes live and be able to play even more with them. Okay, so that's your embossed side, which is now actually our back side. Oh, I don't mean it like that. It is the back side of the piece of paper. Sorry, that sort of came out the wrong way. Now it doesn't matter up or down, it doesn't really matter for this piece because we stamped it the same way both sides, same opposite corners, so it's not really a bother. Now the die set, I've got sticky on my fingers and I'm going to have to rub them together to remove it. Just making sure this is down. Right, that looks great. So what I took is this little die just here, the smallest, well, not that they coordinate, but we do have a large, medium, small. So the smallest of the bow dies, and I pre-prepared some brass bows, and this is brand new foil paper that is also coming out in our new annual catalogue. And I have also done Just Jade, 4 Coastal Cabana, and 2 of the brass. So I start with Just Jade as my base, and I just use 4 of each. So this is, the die cutting is a bit time consuming, but I do love the result that you get. So I didn't use, whoops, a heck of a lot of glue. I just used a dot here and a dot there, and I sort of kind of eyeballed it, and it does go around. And the first layer of wreath we put down, you're going to look and go, oh Ellen, what have you done? It looks terrible. But as you know, with wreaths there are layers. So we're putting down the Just Jade layer, and I'm purposely only putting the glue in those 2 positions, so we have, so the leaf isn't, or the bow isn't completely plastered down. There is some, I'm just going to see if I can angle that. So there's some dimension to it, even though it will be securely stuck down. And then as we add the layers, we will fill in the holes, so it does fill out into a nice bow. So I want to say welcome to anyone who hasn't already participated in the Christmas Stampathon challenge. We do have a lot of fun each month. I know last month's was a bit challenging. We did a colour challenge, and I know a lot of people, we pushed a lot of people to step out of their box of what they thought traditional Christmas colours were, but the results were absolutely stunning. So if you haven't participated before, please do. it's really just about getting ahead with our Christmas. So then when we get to that really super busy time of year, we've got some projects up our sleeve ready to go out in the post, because I know I send a lot of cards to family and friends and to my customers and my Stampin' Up family. This year it's a bit sad. We aren't seeing, or I'm not seeing as many of my Stampin' Up family as I normally would because of this crazy time in the world. We're not seeing anyone. So for these pieces, the second layer, I am covering up the join of the Just Jade. And then that's so, because these parts look a bit bare, so I'm covering them up. And of course you guys don't have issues with your hands, so your gluing is a lot quicker than mine, which is sort of good because I can demonstrate it and I'm not rushing because my hands actually won't let me. So what I also do, I do tuck the end of the bow under the front of the bow before it, and that does sort of help. So you can still see the Just Jade, and you're just creating that lovely layer of colors because they just go so well together. So all the challenges are up on our Facebook group, which is 2020 Christmas Stampathon. You can jump in at any time, but if you participate from the 25th of May to the 24th of June and share your photo under the challenge post, you will go in the draw for one of mine and Esther's cards to be sent to you as in the mail, just as a random act of kindness. So we like to give a little bit back to our participants and thought that was the easiest way to do it. So that is our last one for our greenery, and then we're just going to add our brass foil ones. Now I know many of you haven't seen this brass foil, and I'm there going, oh, you know what, it looks very much like the gold, but it's actually not. I've discovered that our gold and our silver foils have a much more satin texture to them than the brass. The brass actually pretty much has a mirrored finish, which is so lovely. Okay, just holding this down while I did here. So I'm going on a diagonal for my brass feature bows, and I have already, by the magic of television, tied my bow, because I thought why not tie them all together and get them over and done with. So I have saved you watching me fumble around doing a bow, but I know many of you that follow me have seen me do bows many a times. Okay, so that essentially is the base of our wreath, and now I'm just going to embellish it. So I've got our mini glue dots, and I didn't grab out a pair of scissors, but I do have my take your pick tool here. And I'm just going to use the mini spatula end to pick up a glue dot, pop it approximately there, and pop my pre-tied bow on there. I do give it a good amount of pressure. That turned out nicely. I have my ribbon scissors and I'm just going to snip that. Oh, I cut that a bit short. Make it as even as you can. And that is that done. Next, I'm going to grab my red rhinestones, and I'm actually going to use the other end of our take your pick tool to adhere them. And I store them in one of our medium envelopes, and I'll have a storage video coming out soon. I plan on doing a bit of a storage series because I've had a few questions about how I store my bits and bobs. So I thought I would do some videos to come out in the near future. Okay, this doesn't really want to play today. Okay, I'm just going to spot them around. Where did that go? That is actually on my finger, which is kinda not what I wanted. Okay, oh, that's still on my finger. I think I have glue on my finger. There we go. And this one here, and hopefully this one adheres a bit nicer. So sort of creating a touch of a triangle. There we go. So that's our front done. I'm going to leave this out because I will use it for our sentiment piece, but now I am going to create our easel. So I have our card base, and this is my stamped part. So this is the inside, and I'm just going to fold it in half as you normally would. Okay, and then to create our easel, just like that, I'm going to open it up and fold it in on itself in half, so just above the score line. Now you could use your trimmer to do this, but I find it just as easy to do it this way with my bone folder. So there we go. We have our easel just like that. Now I'm going to open it all the way up, and I'm just going to adhere glue to this front portion. So I'm going to be a little generous. Okay, and then take our front panel, and I'm just going to pop it down and line it up so it actually looks like a normal card. Sorry, I'm slipping and sliding a bit. So I do stand it up and tap it, because you've got the fold in the card. It does make that the back portion of the card slightly short. So by putting the full card front on, it takes it back to the normal, I'll show you on the inside now. It's just about 1 millimeter short because of the fold that I've put there. So now I'm going to, while the glue is drying, if I can pick this up, I'm going to take our timeless label punch and punch out our sentiment. So just slide that in there, get it to roughly where I want it, and close enough is good enough. Handmade is much better than Hallmark. And then I have my pre-punched everyday label punch, and grab my glue again. Everything's falling over today. You think I would be a touch more professional, but today that is not happening. So I sometimes find popping the glue on what I'm gluing something to be a little less messy. So you can see whilst these don't match, they do coordinate together really, really nicely. And then one thing I didn't grab out, I am also going to pop this up on a few dimensionals. So, do I have enough wiggle room left? Yes, I do. Perfect. And just going to use this end again. Normally use a pair of scissors, but hey, might as well use what I've got just here. So 2 will do, just like that, of our dimensionals. And there are a couple of ways you can secure it. I could secure it like this, and you can see you've got quite a bit of slant. I could secure it really, really high, and then you've got it more upright. But I kind of like going, I don't know. Look, you're going to find where you like it. And I also want to leave enough room to write. So this actually forms not only the sentiment when the card is up in its easel position, it also creates the sentiment for the inside of the project. So that is, if I had have put it on straight, can I pop up this one side? Yes, I can. Now, that is great. And as a final touch of embellishment, you can see from this one here, I'm going to add a few more with my putty end of my take your pick tool. I'm just going to coordinate with a few more gems or rhinestones. So I just added 3. Come on. Come off, please. Will it do what I say if I'm being polite? And just one here in the corner, so they are all secured. 1, 2, 3. I think I did everything on this card. So your challenge, and these are the 2 other ones that I have made. So you can see these are easel cards as well. So I have made my 4. So your challenge is to make a 3D card. You could use a pop-up on the inside. Well, look, we're saying fancy fold, but if you've got something fancy on the inside, that's also okay. So there are lots of fancy folds. If you want to do the same as me and do an easel card, but just embellish it differently, please do. Please don't think that you can't do the things that me and or myself and Esther do. That is never ever frowned upon or looked at, because we all have different supplies and it all comes out a little differently. So just to recap what I've used a beautiful Boughs stamp set. I've used the die set. I've used a Peaceful Boughs stamp set, the Timeless label, and Everyday label punch. There was something else. I have used the tin tile embossing folder, which is stunning. I also used the double stitched satin ribbon in real red, and I used our red rhinestones. So I really look forward to seeing you over in the Facebook group and seeing what you do. If you don't do anything but still want to be part of the group and get inspiration and comment on others, we also love that. Who doesn't love getting some encouragement on the projects that we've made? So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day. Bye.